LeBron Nash was the 10th ranked player in the class of 2011. He was a 6'7" small forward coming out of Lincoln High School in Dallas, Texas. He would end up going to Oklahoma State, where as a freshman, it was clear he just wasn't going to be a one-and-done guy. He had a pretty solid role, getting around 25 minutes, but would average 13 points on pretty bad efficiency. By the time he was a senior, he was off the radar for the NBA draft. He was averaging 17 points a game, but being a 4-year player who couldn't shoot the ball, he would go undrafted in 2015. After this, he would start his career off in Japan, then go to the G League in 2016, where it just wasn't great, and since has been bouncing around foreign leagues, currently playing in Israel. Adonius Thomas was the 9th ranked recruit. He was a 6'6" wing coming out of Memphis, Tennessee. As a senior at Melrose High School, he would average 19 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 blocks, leading his team to a 26-7 record. He decided to stay local and go to the University of Memphis, where as a freshman, he was forced to miss a lot of time due to injury, but in his sophomore year, he would average 12 points and 5 rebounds, a part of a Memphis team that had a record of 31-5 and made it to the Sweet 16. Now, his draft stock was clearly not that high, but he decided to declare anyways and went undrafted in 2013. His professional career would start in the G League, where he actually played very well. He averaged 17 points, shooting 47% from 3. That season, he was able to land 10-day contracts from the Orlando Magic and Philadelphia 76ers, but those would be the only appearances he made in the NBA. After that, he would return to the G League for another season where he actually, again, played very well, but since then has played in several leagues overseas, currently playing in Kazakhstan. The 8th ranked player is younger brother of former NBA All-Star Jeff Teague, Marquis Teague. By the time Marquis was graduating from Pike High School as a top recruit, his brother had already been in the league for a few years after being a first-round pick. There was a lot of reasons for him to be confident in his future, seeing what his brother did after being ranked just the 57th player in the country coming out of high school. The 6'2" point guard Marquis would go to Kentucky, teaming up with some fellow top recruits, where he really didn't meet expectations, averaging 10 points and 5 assists on pretty poor efficiency, but being the starting point guard on a national championship team as a freshman really helped his stock, and he would end up going with the 29th pick in the 2012 draft to the Chicago Bulls. As a rookie, it wasn't great. He had a really small role, getting just 8 minutes where he put up 2 points on terrible efficiency. It didn't get much better after that. In the middle of his second season, he would get traded to the Brooklyn Nets. Then after that, he'd be traded to the 76ers and waived just 3 days later. He's only played 3 NBA games since. Most of his time has been between the G League and overseas. This past season, he was a part of the Grizzlies G League affiliate, where he averaged 13 points and 4 assists a game. Quincy Miller was a 7th ranked player in the class. Everything was going great for the 6'10" power forward. He was a top player in the country that ESPN was comparing to Kevin Durant, but early on in his senior season, he would tear his ACL, putting him out for the remainder of the season. He had already committed to Baylor, and that didn't change. There was a lot of excitement going into his freshman season. Scout.com had him ranked as the number 2 draft prospect going into the season. He would start off the year great, but as the season went on, due to some minor injuries, he really slowed down, and on the year would average just 11 points and 5 rebounds. He decided to go to the 2012 draft, where he wouldn't hear his name called till the 38th pick in the second round by the Denver Nuggets. He wouldn't really have a role till his second season, where he would get 15 minutes a game, averaging 5 points. But after that, he would only have very small stints in Detroit and Sacramento. Most of his time since then has been overseas, and he's currently playing in Portugal. James Michael McAdoo was a 6th ranked player. In high school, McAdoo was a dominant 6'9" power forward, averaging 22 points and 8 rebounds, leading Norfolk High School to back-to-back Virginia State titles. He would then go to North Carolina, where he came off the bench as a freshman, but then started from 2012 to 2014, averaging 14 points and 7 rebounds. After his junior season, he would go to the 2014 draft, where there just wasn't a bright outlook on his potential, which caused him to go undrafted. His career started off in the G League, but then he earned himself a minor role in the Warriors rotation from 2014 to 2017, where he averaged 8 minutes and 3 points a game. After this, he would get a 2-week deal with the 76ers, but would eventually be waived. Today, he's playing over in Japan. Things heat up when we get inside the top 5, starting with Bradley Beal. Beal absolutely dominated, playing for Chaminade Prep in Missouri. As a senior, he would average 33 points and won National Gatorade Player of the Year. Kind of funny, considering he would end up going to Florida. He went into the year projected to be a top pick, and that didn't change as the season went on. He would average 15 points and 7 rebounds, and went to the 2012 draft, where the Washington Wizards selected him with the 3rd overall pick. Bradley Beal made his presence known quickly. By his second season, he was averaging 17 points as a 40% three-point shooter. As you guys probably know, he's still in the Wizards today, but he's now one of the top players in the league, averaging a league-high 35 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds, shooting 49% from the field and 36% from 3. But with him involved in constant trade rumors, it's looking like he could be on the move very soon. Michael KiddGilchrist was the 4th-ranked player in the class. The 6'6", hyper-athletic small forward was already gaining a lot of NBA buzz coming out of high school, where he won Mr. Basketball USA. He would go to the University of Kentucky, where by no means was he a crazy scorer, but with the role he played in Kentucky winning the title, the defense he displayed, and his upside given his athleticism, he would actually go with the 2nd overall pick to the Charlotte Hornets. He would end up playing 8 seasons in Charlotte, where he provided value as a defender and was solid going at the basket, but as the league has become more and more three-point oriented, his inability to shoot the ball really led to the downfall of his career. Last season, he was waived by the Hornets, then signed with the Mavericks, and ahead of this year, signed with the New York Knicks and was waived less than a month later and is yet to land a new contract. Austin Rivers, son of former NBA player and current NBA head coach Doc Rivers, was the 3rd-ranked player in the class. In high school, he was one of the most viral players in the country, known for his flashy play style filled with crazy ankle breakers and high-flying dunks. He would end up going to Duke with really high expectations and would end up playing pretty well, averaging 16 points, shooting 37% from 3. This was good enough for him to get drafted with the 10th overall pick by the New Orleans Hornets. It wasn't a great first 2 seasons, averaging 7 points a game, but in his 3rd year, he would get traded to the Los Angeles Clippers, a team coached by his dad. One of the most unique scenarios we'd ever seen. Following some impressive performances in the playoffs, his dad would actually give him a 3-year, $36 million contract. He would end up having his best season in 2017, averaging 15 points and 4 assists. He was then traded to the Wizards in 2018, so yes, his dad traded for him, gave him a new contract, then traded him away. They must have some weird family dinners, especially considering one of Doc Rivers' current players on the Sixers, Seth Curry, dates his daughter. Austin would end up getting traded midway through the year to Houston, where he'd have 2 very solid seasons as a role player, and ahead of this year joined the Knicks, and so far is averaging 9 points a game. The only center inside the top 10 is the 2nd overall player in the class, Andre Drummond. The 6'10" center came out of high school projected to be a consensus top pick in the draft. He would end up going to UConn, where as a freshman, he would average 10 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks. His stock slipped from where he was coming out of high school, but his athleticism, rebounding, and shot blocking was enough for the Detroit Pistons to take him with the 9th pick in the 2012 draft. He would make a name for himself with his rebounding immediately. By his 2nd season, he was averaging 14 points and 13 rebounds. Those averages would continue to go up. In 2016, he would average 16 points and 15 rebounds, making his first All-Star appearance. A year later, he would land a 5-year, $130 million contract. But since then, his value in the league, despite even better averages, would go down and go down quickly. At last year's trade deadline, he was sent to the Cavaliers for Brandon Knight, John Henson, and a 2nd-round pick. Now in the last year of his deal, it's looking like the Cavs might just buy him out, giving him the opportunity to go to a contender, and it really looks like that would be the Brooklyn Nets. The number 1 ranked player in the class is Anthony Davis. Davis wouldn't start off his high school career on the NBA radar, but after a crazy growth spurt, that would all change. By the time he was a senior, he was standing at 6'11", with a lot of guard-like skills that he had before he knew he'd become a giant. He would average an insane 32 points, 22 rebounds, and 7 blocks a game. He would then go to Kentucky, where he had one of the best freshman runs we've ever seen, leading them to a national title, averaging 14 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 blocks a game. He would then become the consensus number 1 pick to the New Orleans Hornets. I think most of y'all know what happens after that. In just his 2nd season, he was averaging 21, 10, and leading the league in blocks with 2.8 a game. Now, he's fresh off an NBA title on the Lakers and is the frontrunner for Defensive Player of the Year.